Hola chicos, buenos días. Ya por ahí les puse que vayan poniendo su nombre para ir tomando asistencia. Los que ya lo hicieron, los voy mencionando, de acuerdo a los comentarios que tengo. Tengo a Vania, tengo a Leo, de primero A, Carlos, Samantha, Carlos Aldair, de primero C, Jimena, Vale Bañuelos, a ver, Vale, Jimena Prieto, perdón, Aura, Astrid, Ricardo, Omar, Rebeca, Jorge, David, Lalo, Gabriel de primero C, Lucely, Nadia, Diego Juárez, Ivana, Vale García, primero A, Ale Cruz, Patricio Martínez, Mariel, Atalia, Juan Pablo, Candy, Karina, Alexa, Fer Zamora, André, Cintia, Hanna, Gerardo Gámez, Andrea, Arturo, Carol, Yenel, Juliana, Juanita, Diego, Emanuel, Ruth de primero A y ¿quién más? Bueno, ya no vi los demás. Rebeca, Ángel, Vale Rosales, Cris, Alexa, hola Alexa, Arturo Macorra, Santiago Chárraga, profe, ¿qué vamos a ver hoy? Los extraño, chicos. Hola, profe. No, ese soy yo. Hola, chicos. Bueno, pues bienvenidos a otra clase virtual. Aura, buenos días. El día de hoy vamos a ver un tema que está relacionado con cinco memelas. No, está relacionado, perdón, con National Identities and Political Participation. Vamos a empezar de lleno con el tema y ahorita pues nos seguimos saludando y todo. Bien, si tienen a la mano una libreta, Emiliano primero B, bien. Si tienen a la mano una libreta, voy a pedir que tomen ciertos apuntes, únicamente, exclusivamente de lo que yo les vaya a dar comentar, bueno, donde yo les indique que van a tomar apuntes, ¿sale? Ok, vamos a empezar. ¿Me puedo tomar mi cafecito? Sí, sin problema. Dice, National Identities and Political Participation. This is going to be the topic that we're going to see. ¿Se puede comer en clase? Sí, claro que sí. Memelas solamente. Pero bien. Dice, before we start, national identities and political participation, I want you to take a look at the following pictures. If you can see, there is a hat with there's a hat, and below there is a mustache. And then below there is like a stamp that says Hecho en Mexico, which is very popular, and it represents all the products that are produced here and that are exported to other countries. And then you can see a heart with different images or different things that are representative of Mexico. For example, if you look, we have a pyramid, we have tacos, we have a flag, we have tequila, we have maracas, I guess. We have a guy, a mariachi. Then we have peppers and poncho, que es como se llama que está en la parte de abajo, vestimenta. So we have many different things. Now, my question is, do you think these pictures or these things that you are looking at in the screen, do they represent Mexico? A cactus. Thank you, Simone. So do they represent Mexico somehow? And if that's true, if they represent Mexico, think about this. I want you to think about this. I want you to write it in the comments. I'm going to be showing your comments to everybody. So the first question is, what makes us Mexicans? What makes us really Mexicans? And I'm going to say this because in most of the pictures that you saw in the previous image, there are some things that probably you don't like, or probably there are some things that you are not very keen on. For example, I don't know, but maybe some of you don't really like peppers, or maybe some of you do not like mariachi music. So what makes us Mexicans? Because the fact that you don't like one of these things doesn't really mean that you are not Mexican anymore. For example, I can say, well, which is not true, but let's imagine I say I don't like tacos. Does that make me less Mexican? What do you think? Okay, I'm looking at some answers here. Ale says we identify with its culture. Okay, so that's one thing. Ale Garcia says also the culture, our traditions. Okay, very good. Let's talk a little bit about traditions. What if you do not have or follow a certain tradition? Does that mean, for example, one of the most common in Mexico is the tradition of um, the dead of the day of the death. So a lot of people believe in that, but does that and that is something that represents us worldwide, that we are Mexicans. If you look at some movies, if you watch some movies, you're going to see that when they represent a part of Mexico, usually it's when people are having that sort of tradition. But many people, or some of us, do not how can I say it? Do not believe or do not follow those traditions. Does that mean that we are less Mexicans? Jimena Prieto says, or culture, the culture. Exactly. Dia de Muertos. Very good, Nadia. There are some, okay, there are some others. Does that mean that we are less Mexicans because we don't follow certain traditions, or because we don't like certain food that for many people think then that we are that are representative of Mexico? So I'm looking at the answers. Some of you say no, no, no. Uh, I'm guessing this is Ivana, if I'm correct. I do not remember. Um, but let's say so many of us would say that no, we are still Mexicans. So my question is, why are you a Mexican? Why are you Mexican? Or what is being a Mexican? How can we define what is a Mexican? All of us, we are Mexicans, but why? What makes us Mexicans? Let's see some of your answers. What makes us Mexicans? Why are you Mexican? Dice, bueno, because I was born in Mexico. Nadia says the same. Because we're born in Mexico. Okay. So in which moment in history was it decided that because we were born here, we were going to be Mexicans? There is a very, I don't know if you have heard the music of this. Some people say here genes because of our genes. Okay. The culture that we have says Lalo. Okay, that's also a very good answer. Because we share a territory, history, culture. Thank you. Because we were born in one part of Mexico. Okay, there is a famous singer. She's dead now, but she's a very popular. Actually, she became famous by singing Mexican music, like traditional Mexican music. Her name is Chabela Vargas. I don't know if you have you ever heard of her. She sings traditional music, let's call it like that. Well, many people believe, I'm going to put it here. Um, Her name is Chabela Vargas. Many people believe that because she sings, for example, one very famous is La Llorona. I'm sure that you have heard that song. Um, and well, it's very popular, and she sang that. I mean, she didn't make it, but she sang it. So many people believe that because she sings traditional Mexican music, she was Mexican. But the truth is, actually, she was from Chile. And in an interview, she said something very funny. They asked her, "So are you Mexican?" And she said, "Yes." And the interviewer said, "Well, but you were born in Chile." And she said, "Bueno, eso es porque los mexicanos nacemos donde se nos da la gana." And so she was considering herself being Mexican, even though she was not born here. But the point is, how in which moment of history did we identify ourselves as Mexicans? Well, this has to do when the moment we understand it, or how we are going to understand it, is by thinking what happened in Europe. And I want you to remember a little bit about this topic. When we talk about the French Revolution, after the French Revolution, Napoleon started his empire. And as you can see in the picture, it was extremely big. And let's see in the comments. Who did he put in Spain as a ruler? Who was the ruler of Spain while he was the emperor? Remember that he attacked different countries, and what he did basically was he put a man or somebody he trusted, and exactly his brother, but what was the name of his brother? And he put people he trusted to be ruling over that country. So when he attacked Spain, when he invaded Spain, he put his brother, and the name of his brother was, anybody? Here it is. There you go. Joseph Bonaparte, or Jose Bonaparte. Very good. Thank you very much. So he did the same with many different countries. Uh, if you can see in the picture, this, because this is going to be the part that is important, in the map, you are not going to see the country of Germany. In those days, Germany did not exist as a country. And I want you to notice something else. I want you to take a look at Italy. If you see where Italy is, you're going to see that there is something else called Papal States, and Naples and Sicily. All of them were, there was no country like Italy like we know it nowadays. And we're going to have also the Great Duchy of Warsaw and the Confederation of the Rhine. The Rhine. So this is after Napoleon lost. Do you remember in which battle did he lose? What was the final battle of Napoleon Bonaparte? Okay, anybody? Can you put in the comments? What was the final battle of Napoleon Bonaparte? It was in 1815. What was the name of the battle? I have it here. Okay, some of you are putting Russia. Very good. So after Russia, he went back, and then the Battle of Waterloo. There you go. There you have it. So in 1815, he fought the Battle of Waterloo. He lost, and in that moment, all of the territory that once was part of the French Empire had to be divided. And what happened is that they organized something called the Congress of Vienna. I'm going to put it here in the comments so you can see it. Okay, so it's here. So they organized something called the Congress of Vienna. And in this Congress, many different nations gathered, and they decided that they were going to split the territories once conquered by Napoleon. And basically, it ended up like this, as you can see in the map. So the territories were divided, and some empires took advantage of that, especially the Austrian Empire and Prussia, and a part of the Ottoman Empire. So what happened after it was divided? Well, here's what you're going to write. It's very short. If you can summarize it, that's perfect. As long as you have the parts that I'm putting in bold, you need to have them. It started a concept called nationalism. Nationalism is basically the idea that you are aware that you belong to a nation, that you are part of a nation. But not only you are part of a nation, you believe that it is your strong conviction that you need to fight for national sovereignty and the right that you have to choose the rulers. So it's not only believing, it's not only knowing that you are part of a country or a nation. You also believe that it's your duty to fight anybody who wants to come and who wants to intervene in the decisions of your country. That is basically the idea of nationalism. And you are going to fight as well for the right to choose your own rulers. These concepts started growing in many different nations. I'm going to put, if you can take a screenshot or if you can take a photo and you put it later into your notebook, I'm going to show you two more concepts so you understand first what is the difference between a nation and a state, because those are two concepts that are not the same. So here it is. First, a nation is a group of people, a large group of people that are united by common characteristics. It can be common physical characteristics. It can be by common ancestry. That means, how do you say it? No, it's the, I forgot the word in Spanish. But people who were before you, basically, that's the idea. People that are united by a common history, by a common culture, or by a common, there you go, ancestros. Thank you very much, Carlos, Daniel. Forgot the word. Thank you. So people who are united by these characteristics, those things make you a nation, or make a nation. In the first part of the class, when I was asking what makes us Mexican, well, here it is. I think one of you put this idea more or less, that when we have a common history, when we have a common culture, when we have a common language, then somehow we make up a nation. We are part of a nation. It's something that happens more or less when you have friends. So you have, there is a group of people that you like, that probably have the same likes about, I don't know, the same tastes about music. I don't know. And then obviously you speak the same language, and that makes them your friends. They like, or they probably have the same culture. So eventually you're going to become more and more close to those people. Now, if you share a territory or something like that, then that idea is going to make you believe that you're part of a group. Well, think about that in a bigger scenario. That happened to many societies and many civilizations, and then that's how they form nations. So this is a nation, basically. Group of people united by common characteristics, history, culture, etc. Now, there is another concept, which is a state. And a state, it's a society, an organized society with laws. These laws are created with the intention of allowing citizens to live and coexist in peace. So we have laws. There is a way or a code of behavior, and they have these laws so they could live in peace, basically. These two concepts are separated, but they are two different concepts. But a nation usually is part of a state, because a nation, as a group of people, needs laws. So eventually a nation becomes a state. Okay. Thinking about these two concepts, I want you to check what happened to two different nations. After Napoleon lost the war, after the territories were split, some nations were born. And that happened first to Italy and then to Germany. These two countries, these two states, did not exist before Napoleon. They existed, but they were divided. If you can look at the picture that is in the left, you're going to see all of the different territories. Again, it was not a country altogether. It was not a state. They were territories with independent rulers that existed in Europe. So if you can see in the picture in the left, we have the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, which is this part, and the part in the bottom. We have Corsica, Sardinia, we have Rome, we have Tuscany, we have Venice, Lombardy, Piedmont, and the rest. Parma, Modena. Okay, so all of these territories existed, but they were separated. What happened is that in one moment in history, they realized many things. So they saw, okay, so we share the language. All of us speak Italian, okay? So we also share some history. we have more or less the same traditions, and we have more or less the same economy. So why don't we make up a country altogether? That's what happened. One of the bigger countries, everything started in Piedmont. He was the richer region, or it was the richer region. Then he started, we can say, conquering or convincing other territories. And at the end, all together, they decided to make up a nation. The same thing happened to Germany. In Germany, if you can see in the picture, all of the territories were separated, and then in one moment of history, they got all together and they created a country. That is how sometimes countries are created, or nations, or sorry, or states are created. The activity that you're going to have in the platform is putting together how the unification of Germany and Italy happened. That is an activity that you're going to have in the platform. Now, there are some other cases where more than one nation can coexist under the rule of only one state. These are called multi-ethnic states. So it's a society with laws, but it's composed by several nations or ethnic groups. All of them have different ideology, all of them have different history, culture, language, but they share a common territory. There were three examples. The first one, I'm going to put it right there, was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. If you can look at the screen, it says it had control over Slovenians, Czechs, Poles, and so on. Because all of them were part of the same territory, and even though they were separated nations because they had different language, they had different culture, or they had different traditions, all of them were under the rule of the emperor of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So all of them, even though they were different, had one same ruler. That is the first example. Second example is the Ottoman Empire. The same thing happened. If you can look at the map, it was composed by Greeks. Here is Athens, so Greeks, Bosnians, which is here, Egyptians, which is down here, Israelites, which were here, and which one is missing? Albanians and some other people. So all of them, again, is Rutania. Rutania, that was a country that does not exist anymore. So all of them were, again, under the same domain of one single ruler. Different nations, but all together in one empire. And finally, the same thing happened to Russia. Russia, because of the extremely big territory, it was inhabited by Slovenians, Ukrainians, Poles. Anybody knows what Poles are? Where are Poles from? Okay, let's see who can put it. Aha, here we have it. People from Polonia, very good. Polacos, we call them, very good. Thank you, very good. Jime, Vale Rosales, Larissa. Lewandowski, okay, like Lewandowski, very good, yes. People from Polonia, there you go. So basically this happened in different territories. That is the difference between a nation and a state. And in some cases, we call this multi-ethnic states. They had different nations living under the rule of one emperor or one government. Now, how do you get to have, here you have the picture. There have been many ideas about nationalism. we all somehow believe in nationalism. There is the flag of Americans. This is the Nazi, the swastika. This, well, Mexico. Then this is from about communism and Israelites, and esta era de la, bueno, de la extinta URSS. So how do you get people to believe in nationalism? Actually, Nazi, the term Nazi comes from National Socialism, which is a form of extreme nationalism. So how do you get people to feel part of a country? Anybody? Thoughts, opinions? What do you say? How do you make people to believe they are part of a country? Okay. Yes, that's the extinct horse. Okay, I'm going to put the question. How do you, here's the question. I have some answers. How do you make people to believe they are part of a country or a nation? Some of you say, okay, by oppression, uh, by the laws or government, by violence, uh, by corruption. Okay, I have some answers. Corruption. By nationalism, you get rejected from an art school. Okay, that's one way. Cheating on them. Well, this is the easiest way, by their culture and their government. Okay, here we have more. Luceli. Mateo, corruptions. I have David Salazar, economy. Okay, good. Vale Rosales says culture, oppression or violence. Here we have the answer. The easiest way to convince people they are part of a nation and take it to the extremes is by education. In many different countries, and I'm not talking only about, but you're going to look at a picture. This is the Nazi Party in this before the Second World War. And if you see, these are not adults. All of them are children. So the easiest way to convince people to extreme thoughts is usually education. That's why you have to be very aware that education helps you to understand things better. And history allows us to understand the mistakes that were committed in the past. I'm not saying that this is happening right now. However, if you start believing that you are more and you are better than the rest of the nations because you are, I don't know, this or that nation, that could lead eventually to thinking that you are above the rest. And that happened in this case to Germany with the Nazi Party. There's this movie. I don't know if you have seen it. Uh, I watched it 2 days ago, I guess. Jojo Rabbit, and it expresses so beautifully how it's very easy to convince people about a way of thinking. So in this movie, you're going to see the story of this little kid. His name is Jojo, and he's living in Germany. And I love one scene where in those days he was not allowed to have Jews, Judíos, in their houses because it was a crime, and people were executed. So what happened is his mother was hiding a Jew. And okay, what? Okay, so his mother was hiding a Jew in his house, and she are having a conversation, and she says, no, he says, I am a Nazi. And she says, no, you are not a Nazi. And he says, well, I like swastikas, which is like the form of the Nazi. That's very clear. I'm a Nazi because I like swastikas. And she says, well, you're just a 10-year-old who likes swastikas, but you are not a Nazi. And in the movie, it presents how education and how everybody thinks actually make people, they make people believe they are part of a nation or they are part of a community, and so they have to fight for the benefit of the community. Okay, so basically that was the class. The idea is nations and multi-ethnic nations or states. And the activity that you will have in the platform is you have to order how the unification of Germany, how the unification of Italy happened. There is like a quiz. You have to answer it. You will have 2 chances. So I recommend you, you can check your book. It's fine. So you can, you have to answer that quiz. The activity is going to be intended for delivering for next Monday, if I'm correct. Monday would be the day when you have to have it. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon. Síganse cuidando. La siguiente semana parece ser que ya las clases van a ser a través de la plataforma de Zoom. Entonces, pues ya habrá más oportunidad de escucharlos, a lo mejor directamente. Pero ya mayores indicaciones les darán sus asesores, ¿ok? Entonces, cuídense mucho. Ah, perdón, súper rápido. Hubo 3 personas que me entregaron la actividad, que si no me recuerdo era Ruth, era Ricardo y era Sebastián. Revisé sus actividades, por favor, háganlo de todas maneras en el quiz. De hecho, hubo un error sobre sus actividades, por eso les voy a pedir que lo vuelvan a hacer en el quiz. Y sí, parece ser que sí voy a usar Zoom. Cuídense, chicos, los queremos mucho, los quiero mucho, los extraño. Esperemos pronto volvernos a vernos o por lo menos poder interactuar, estar escuchándolos también sus voces. Que tengan un buen día y vean la película si tienen oportunidad, está en YouTube para renta. Y bueno, cuídense mucho. Bye.